Have you ever watched a simple warning turn into a giant mess because no one listened? I used to work at a law firm that operated like a production floor. Everything they did revolved around speed and volume. They handled thousands of tiny cases each month, each bringing in a small fee, and the entire workflow was built around a templated system. We had a standard motion response. We filled in a few facts, and we submitted it. 15 to 20 minutes per case. Not impressive, but functional. And for that particular type of law, it made financial sense. Then the firm decided to expand into a completely new practice area. Instead of simple, low-value matters, we began taking on cases worth $200,000 to $300,000 each. These were complicated, fact-heavy, and required precise allegations. But instead of adapting to the new challenges, the partners tried to force the same high-speed, low-effort system onto these far more complex files. Their plan was as unrealistic as it was rigid. The senior attorney was told to create a single universal complaint template for all cases. The intake staff, who were not trained for this and were paid little more than minimum wage, were expected to gather detailed facts from clients and summarize them on a cover sheet. Then my role was to take that cover sheet, plug the information into the template, and produce a polished complaint in under 20 minutes. The template was shallow, the intake sheets were inconsistent, and the cases were far too unique for anything universal. To draft something competent, I had to read the entire file myself every time. Intake often mixed up facts, misunderstood the legal issues, or left out important details. The template didn't account for variations, so I had to remove entire sections, rewrite paragraphs, reorganize facts, and build arguments from scratch. On a good day, one complaint took me an hour and a half, sometimes two, but I still made sure each one was accurate because the stakes were high and these cases required real work. Naturally, a backlog formed. The partners summoned me to ask why I wasn't producing complaints at the pace they expected. I explained everything. The template wasn't sufficient, intake wasn't collecting the right information, and the complexity of the cases made shortcuts impossible. I even offered solutions: train the intake team, slow down the workflow, redesign the template to match the new practice area. They dismissed every suggestion. They insisted the system was fine and that I needed to focus on output, not detail. They told me I was overthinking, that I shouldn't question the process, and that I needed to stay in my lane. These were people who hadn't drafted a legal document in years and spent most of their day watching office cameras and timing employee arrivals. Their message was clear: stop reviewing, stop correcting, stop refining, just produce. So I followed their instructions. Exactly. I stopped reading entire files. I stopped fixing factual inconsistencies. I stopped editing the legal arguments. If the intake sheet contradicted itself, I typed it. If the facts didn't support the cause of action, I left them untouched. If the narrative made no sense, I didn't change a word. For a few nights, I even stayed late and generated around 75 complaints exactly the way they claimed they wanted. Fast, unedited, untouched. 3 workdays later, I was called into an urgent meeting with all of the partners and the senior attorney. The senior attorney had reviewed only a portion of what I sent and reported that not a single complaint could be filed. Not one. Every file had incorrect facts, mismatched arguments, incomplete allegations, or glaring structural issues. They demanded answers. I calmly reminded them that I had done exactly what they instructed. No extra work, no corrections, no independent judgment. I had followed their system exactly, step by step. They didn't like that. They tried to shift the responsibility back to me, claiming I should have raised concerns earlier. I showed them emails proving I had raised concerns repeatedly. Suddenly, the partners scrambled to revise their system. New intake forms, a rewritten template, updated procedures, but they couldn't escape the central problem. The work was too complex to be handled like a mass production task. The situation grew tense. Accuracy kept slipping. Complaints kept coming back unusable. And the partners refused to admit that their process wasn't compatible with the new practice area. I kept doing exactly what they demanded, and the system kept failing. Eventually, I left the firm for another job that actually valued proper legal work. Out of curiosity, I still check on some of the cases that firm filed. Many have already been dismissed or stalled because of errors in the initial filings, all because they insisted speed mattered more than doing the job correctly.